Chapter 13. Tom, Kay, Ann, Pat, and Kelly. That's right, Kelly. She was born October 15th in Wilmington, Delaware. The Littles arrived from Sunbury in the fall of 1964. Kelly arrived in Wilmington in the fall of 1966. Kay still delights in telling her she's the chosen one. Tom, as I was known in the new Delaware dollhouse community, tells Annie and Patrick they are Christmas 1 and Christmas 2, created as a result of great holiday Christmas parties, but that wasn't true. It was just my way of needling them when they got on Kelly's case about being the only one born in the first date. But cocktail parties were a new habit. Delaware, a total culture shock after 2 years in Sunbury. Sunbury meant training potential Olympians and reading the local sports jockstrap page, playing judo every day at work, demonstrating judo throughout the coal region, playing to the crowds at the colleges, the high schools, the Rotary clubs, the farm shows, any place that had a mat. Doc and Perry really got into the judo stuff, and I really got into the drinking stuff. After demonstrations, we'd go to the local pubs and celebrate the pain that turned the crowds on. I was into extremely private drinking, mostly with Doc. Doc was my perpetual social buddy after re-entry into the drinking class. On the plus side, however, I had true potential for training Olympic swimming champions. It was a tough deal putting the new swimming culture together, because there was a brand new swimming pool, but no one had any knowledge of competitive swimming. There were constant petty jealousies, extremely vicious in nature, fights with a certain husband and wife team, who I swore I'd never mention their names again, who were also on the board of directors, as well as most of their family. In Sunbury, fights were always petty, usually over what time of day, who would use the swimming pool for practice. There was tremendous jealousy about who created the prowess of the budding new swimming championships. In the beginning, there weren't very many serious swimmers. There was only 6 to go around, and I had recruited them. So it was 2 coaches fighting over the same athletes, acting like predatory animals in a jungle, fighting over fresh meat. Both of us were at fault. I refused to give in, as usual. My style always was, anything's fair in a good fight, especially when the other guy starts it. Through Kay, I had befriended a young, up-and-coming Republican-type lawyer in Sunbury. His name was John Carpenter, and was reported to be a distant relative of the Rockefeller family. His younger brother was Kay's all-time special boyfriend all throughout high school and most of college. He was a Penn Stater. Kay had to make a decision between a Penn Stater and a Bloomsburger. She never fully explained to me her reasoning. She never enlightened anyone. She never talked about it. Just in the end, she picked the Bloomsburger. I always knew she loved John's younger brother. It was always obvious in the way she looked when she talked about him. I admired this in her. I always did. I still do. She didn't hold back anything. I also knew that brother John was sensitive about this relationship. So as a result, I was careful and sincere about our friendship. John was a mover and shaker as a well-known young lawyer who served on the board of directors of the Y also. His father was a senior partner in the firm and the county Republican guru. John spent full time in mediation between me and the board pains in the ass. His private lectures to me were always about me being the asshole about the whole thing. They're the assholes, I'd respond. John would laugh and settle each argument in their favor. Beware. Favors eventually result. The entire argument was silly as hell, and it went like this. I started the darn swimming team at the invitation of the pains in the ass. After one long, hard year of training 6 swimmers and taking all the embarrassment and humiliation that goes with losing all year long, and then finally winning the state and Mid-Atlantic championships, She, the other half of the pains in the ass, whose name I swore I'd never mention again, convinced 3 of the better swimmers to join her newly organized competitive synchronized swimming team that she was offering. It really pissed me off. I felt like they stole my talent, but I could keep that part under control. I figured the extra workouts couldn't hurt anybody, especially since they were already working out 2 times a day anyway. The problem was, during our regular dual swim meets, she insisted on having synchronized swimming demonstrations. Right in the middle of the fucking meet, I told John. This turned my warrior juices loose. We became vicious, both claiming juicy rumors about each other and being generally incredibly nasty. She was persistent, her husband was on the board, and they always had the votes, and therefore won every point in every argument most of the time. Her father-in-law, her brother-in-law, and other business-related friends, relatives, and employees were also on the board. I pestered John. Christ, John, talk about a stacked deck. I don't have a chance. Meanwhile, while no one was looking, I built my own board support. After all, I had organized swimmers from all over the county who weren't related to people in Sunbury. They had become Pennsylvania YMCA and Mid-Atlantic AAU champions. The parents were ecstatic at the change in attitude in their kids. Champs in 1 year, they would say. And they were behaving in school and studying like proper champions. These parents were willing to drive long distances at 4 a.m. in cold, freezing mornings and submit their children to a drill instructor's discipline at 5 a.m., which meant they had to have dedication to long, dark months without fail. And then all summer, 2 times a day, even in the rain. Thunder, jumping under ice-cold freezing water that hadn't been heated and many times over-chlorinated. That's what won the gold. My swimmers had attitude, and attitude meant power. We won everything there was the last summer I was there. Sunbury swimmers and their parents were truly the real champions. Meanwhile, back in the real world, in Sunbury I worked many nights and was always away coaching on weekends. No one ever thought I was lazy, including Kay. I left Sunbury with a general work attitude of, screw you, I'm doing it my way. I knew I was good at whatever I decided to do, and I knew I was worth the gold someplace on this earth. And I'll be damned if I wasn't going to find it. We Littles brought the memory of that last summer in Sunbury, along with my coaching credentials, to Wilmington, Delaware, to be added to by 2 glorious years of teaching high school seniors sociology at a local high school. Sociology, oh my God. I didn't know a thing about it. I really loved teaching kids here in Wilmington. They all reflected it back immediately. My brand new suburban Bulldog swimming team agreed to train every morning at 5 a.m., carpooling weekdays downtown to what was universally known in Delaware as the Black Y. I originally applied to teach problems of democracy and ended up the last person hired in the social studies department, teaching this brand spanking new course called sociology. In my first employment interview, I pleaded my inability to teach sociology, which I flunked and I thought they knew it. And when asked my future plans, I said, I'd like to be running this district someday, right after, of course, being an Olympic swimming coach. No hesitation, but teaching sociology? You gotta be kidding me. But that's exactly what I got. I was drinking more and more and having less and less fun with it. But I was teaching and coaching, and this is what I loved. Kay loved it, and the kids loved it. I had an absolute normal way of life. And that was my entry to this glorious state of Delaware, where I still live and love. And let me tell you one other thing before we go on to chapter 14. I always knew abandonment was my problem. I always knew I would be abandoned by everybody I ever knew. I didn't really have a family sense, but when I made a friend, I didn't make a friend. I made a family, and I still do today. All the people I met all through this book are still friends of mine to this day. I just got a check for $250 from a woman I went out with 30 years ago. Thank you. I don't want you to get the impression I'm a hard-hearted guy. I'm not. I'm actually very friendly. And I cry at ads on TV. I mean, things really get me. But I'm going to tell you something. From here on in these readings, these people are all still alive, and I still know them all, and I have no regrets about my life, and I've either forgiven or forgotten every single incident you're going to hear about. So I'm enjoying reading this book, but what I don't enjoy is when I remember what a jerk I was.